And it looks like not only is August upon us, but we are also live. Welcome, everyone, to the John Lavenia Success Mastermind for Monday, the 2nd of August, 2021. John Lavenia, live and in person here with you. And I see Khaled, I see Suzanne, Daisy, Cyril, Lindsay, more people tuning in. Actually, more people are at the beach than are tuning in right now because it is summertime, at least in the Northern Hemisphere. And hopefully you're all enjoying this, and hopefully you've got the liberty to enjoy such things as we do here in Arizona. We just we do our thing, and it's lots of fun. We have a few things on the menu for you. Hey, Mark. Hey, Allie. A few things on the menu for you today. First and foremost, our hospitality suite is always open. That's for your use. Meet as you like. Use that anytime we're not in session. But our next session after this one is going to be the e-commerce work group at 3 p.m. Eastern U.S. time. So tune in for that. Lots of fun with Emma and Neil. That's 8 p.m. British summer time. All right, so 3 p.m. Eastern U.S. time. And then I'm looking at my calendar. I've got 10 million things, only 10 million, so kind of a light Monday. And then we're going to wrap up tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern U.S. time, middle of the night for our friends across the pond. Perfect morning study session for our friends in Australia and New Zealand. But that is our book study group. And as you know, if you've been hanging around with us for a while, we have now opened that to the public. So if you want to invite friends, you can, right? Just, they should probably be interested in, reading personal development philosophy and stuff like that. Tonight, we're going to be covering 2 more chapters of the most requested book in this group, which is Integrity is Everything by me. So we're going to be covering 2 more chapters of that. Now, of course, if you're sleeping at that time because you're in England or something, or you need your beauty sleep, and we've got a lot of beautiful people here. So if you are not able to attend live, you know that we have all the recordings on our members site. All right. So you can just go into the recorded section and you can find the book study recordings right there, along with all the other recordings, including this one that is coming out of my mouth right now. So that's what's going on for today. Where are we at here? Hey, we got a few more people here. Welcome, everyone. Glad to see you. Ace and Janet, Edward. So I've got an idea for you. If you'd like me to share an idea, I certainly will. I've been on this kick where I've been studying recently, restudying for the umpteenth time, the laws of the universe, the laws of life. And I don't use that word lightly. Law, I know a lot of other, authors and motivational speakers like to use the word law a lot, because law means what? Law means that it always works. Okay. Not man-made laws. I'm talking about higher laws, right? Not like your local politicians or national politicians got together and decided to give you, some laws or something. I'm talking about laws that really can't be broken. And one of the laws that I've been reminded of recently is the law of rhythm. The law of rhythm. Have we talked about this recently? I don't think we have. I think last week we talked about a bit about the law of perpetual transmutation of radiant energy. That one has a few more words to it. And I think the week before that, we talked about the law of polarity. See, my memory serves. Am I right? Yes, I am. Okay, good. So I want to talk with you a bit about the law of rhythm. Rhythm. Do you ever hear get into the rhythm? I need to get into the rhythm with this. Anybody ever heard that come out of your own mouth or other people's mouths? What does that mean? How does that feel when you're in the rhythm with something? Kind of going with the flow, right? Kind of in sync, in synchronicity, synchronizing, time synchronized, right? Think of the words time, rhythm. If not for repetition over intervals of time, there would be no such thing as music. Having studied a bit about music, I know we've got a few musicians here, right? Think of nothing ever repeated itself over a predetermined amount of time with a tempo, with a rhythm. It would just be noises. Is that music? That's not music. Okay. So there's got to be a rhythm. There's got to be a repetition over a preset amount of time. And that tempo can change. You can go faster and slower. That's fine. But there has to be some order. just like anything else in life, all success is orderly. And so getting into the rhythm means that you're putting yourself, your mind and your actions in an orderly state with something that repeats itself over time. Now, here's the quandary. Okay. Let's say we want to pick up the tempo, or let's say we want to play a different song. This song, which I've been in the rhythm with, right? I've gotten in the rhythm with, let's say, my job or something, or with my fitness, right? But not here in this other area, my relationships, my business, right? Not in the rhythm, out of accord, out of sync. I need to get in the rhythm with that. So there's this idea of the law of rhythm. And I think this is going to give you a bit of relief if you've been beating yourself up for having not already accomplished every goal that you set in this new song that you wanted to play. The new song being go succeed at e-commerce, or go start this affiliate program, or get into that new relationship, or whatever. Okay, now you can also lie to yourself. So I'm going to preamble all this by saying that you can give yourself excuses. I'm not talking about buying your own excuses when I'm about to tell you what I'm about to tell you here. All right. So just consider that. You got to have your own integrity in on this. Okay. So the law of rhythm basically states that things go back and forth, in and out, kind of like the law of polarity, but that really means, if there's a heads, there's a tails. If there's an up, there has to be a down. The law of rhythm is about the flow of life to and fro. And we could see this law expressed physically, observably, objectively in various things. My favorite example is the tide. And there's a tempo to that, right? Tide goes out, tide comes in, tide goes out, tide comes in. The earth revolves, right? And the rotations, around the sun, right? And all of it. The moon, right? So you could see things that have a tempo. They have a rhythm to them. We can time events within like fractions of a second. How do people know that the comet is coming, in this year, or the eclipse is going to happen 12 years, 4 hours and 28 seconds from now? Like now, that's going to be the eclipse. How do we know that? Because it's actually a law. Time. I mean, if you're dealing the whole physical universe thing, right? I mean, you get to have time. So considering that, let's just look at the tide real quick. If you were standing on the beach and you thought, you know what, it would be great to go surfing. And I don't know much about surfing. I've taken my daughter to the beach. She's got a boogie board. She catches, these crappy little waves, and it's a lot of fun. A little kid on a boogie board, right? But let's say you wanted to do some actual like surfing. Okay. And I may be wrong when I say this. So any surfers, forgive me for being ignorant, but let's say the tide was going out and you wanted the nice big waves. You could sit there and bitch and gripe about it. Man, can you believe these waves? These waves suck, right? And what's going to happen based on the law of rhythm? Well, the tide's going to come in. And I'm just assuming that water flowing this way might produce better waves than water flowing that way. Again, I don't know. I'm not an oceanographer, nor am I a surfer. Okay. But there is a rhythm to that. And all of your protest will not produce the tide coming in. But working with the law, which is a book that we need to read, probably after we're done with Integrity is Everything, Working with the Law by Raymond Halliwell, a classic. But working with the law, we can discern that, I'm attempting to force or go against the flow here right now. And I know that the tide has to come in. I know it has to happen. That's law, right? We can time it down to fractions of a second. Scientists do this kind of stuff, right? They observe the truth of, life and the laws that govern it. So I could sit here and protest and get all sideways about it. Or I could just go get my, my hot dogs and what do you guys eat on the beach? I don't know. These days it's probably smoothies, right? I can go do that and come back when the tide's coming in. And again, forgive me if that doesn't make any sense for an actual surfer. That's just my neophyte or tyro experience of that, or interpretation of that. What about your business? What about knowing that there's a rhythm to things? And we could say sowing and reaping, right? That's more like the law of gender. We could talk about that perhaps next week. But we can determine for ourselves that my ability to sow seeds or to outflow or to send out benefits into the market is dependent on me. The market responding to that can also happen with a rhythm, and does happen with a rhythm. When I was newer in the whole sales and business world, I heard people talking about the cyclical nature of sales. How's business this week? Well, it's been cyclical. Meaning what? They haven't had that great of a week, right? That's another way to say our stats suck. And can we get some sales over here, please? I never heard people say that when their stats are up.
Going to say, was it me or is it John?
Did we
lose
John?
Him, haven't we?
No, he just seemed to freeze, and now he's
froze.
there.
Yeah, Janet. Yeah, I saw him freeze, and then all of a sudden, boom, he's gone.
Yeah, that was the law.
Yeah, there you go. There's the law.
Yeah.
There's the cycle of law, the cyclical law.
At least we're listening, right?
That's funny. We should all give him grief for it when he gets back too.
I nominate you, Mark.
Okay, I will. I'll say so.
The grief giver.
I'll tell you. Yeah. Was that a test? Oh my gosh, where'd he go, man? He's still, I don't know. I wonder if something went down in his system.
You think?
It's unusual, isn't it? He's got a great system.
Yeah. Must be the heat. Must be the heat of Arizona.
Oh God. So,
It's on the weather that
you guys
they're
planning to go to
seeing rain
Las
for the
Vegas?
west. What's that?
Who's planning to go to Las Vegas?
I'm planning on going to Las Vegas.
Are we still live?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
We are now.
What was that a test, John?
No.
Was that a test for us, or?
Zoom just totally crashed? Are we still live on YouTube as well?
It's
It
still
does
say
says it's
We are,
live.
yes,
yeah.
it says up in the top
We are.
left.
Okay, so something just happened with Zoom on my Mac, and so I'm holding my iPhone here. Okay, network connection failed. That's delightful. Okay, so shall we continue
Yes,
our
please.
conversation? I tuned back in. You
That
guys
was
are
our
convincing about all
cyclical
kinds of
test,
unrelated stuff.
Sorry.
All right, so now I'm not on the hosting account apparently, so you guys are going to have to help me out here. All right, looks like we're still live. So, what was I saying? Right. So we've got people. Yeah, I'm seeing myself on YouTube right now, so apparently that's working. So there we go.
So you were talking about the cyclical, and that
Yes.
no one complains about the stats when you are not down in your numbers, but when you're up.
Right. So I hear people say that sales is cyclical. In other words, kind of justifying why their stats are not so good this week. I've never heard somebody say that when they just had their best week ever, right? Well, it's cyclical, and the tide just came in big time. Like, holy crap, money bath, right? Okay, so we tend to recognize laws when we've been affected by them in perhaps an adverse way. Like, I don't walk around citing the virtues or the law of gravity. Let's say I don't walk around observing consciously gravity. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm feeling the weight of my body on this chair, and the fact that things aren't just floating off into space. Gravity is useful. It's a nice nice accommodating thing, I suppose, if you want to, be on a planet, but which I'm not sure that I do want to be. But anyway, here we are, and so we don't have the conscious observation of things like the law of rhythm, unless we're out of it. But there are those times, like I mentioned, where I'm in the rhythm with this. Typically, what people say though is I got to get in the rhythm with this. All right, so the law of rhythm. The law of rhythm. Here is where I want to go with this, and then I'm going to pass it over to anyone else who wants to talk, possibly on this topic or whatever else you guys are going to talk about, and then I'm going to see if I can get this computer thing running. But there is, now we're getting into Hermetic philosophy, Hermes, the Kabbalion, right? So that's actually a title of a book you could read, and in that book, Hermes talked about rhythm and a pendulum swinging back and forth, and how this is something that we experience in life, and we can have our ups and downs. But if we notice that there is a rhythm to everything, then we can actually rise above it. In other words, not be swinging ourselves on the pendulum, but be above, to transcend, so to speak, and to observe the pendulum, but to not be so involved with it. The best word that I've come up with for this, to describe this, would be non-attachment. Non-attachment, to cultivate the witness, to be the observer of the rhythm, and to, yes, enjoy the upswings, to enjoy the tide coming in and the beautiful waves, the currents of life, the currency of life as well, right? Including money. That's a form of current, right? Currency. But not to get all sideways and gripey and bitchy and protesty when the tide is going out. In other words, to kind of level out our emotions with all that, rather than being the effect of it, being cause over it. This takes a good amount of consciousness, and so we've got to be able to get quiet and to, again, cultivate that witness, that observer posture with that, lest we just be consumed in the game itself. So I know we've talked about this before, the idea of playing a game in any aspect of life, right? So there's a purpose for the game, and there's, and the purpose, we could say we used a game, for example, like hockey, right? So the purpose of that game is to beat the crap out of your opponent. No, actually, the purpose of that game is to have an effect on the opponent. The effect would be a goal, the puck going into the net, right? But to not receive the effect from the opponent, right? So to have an effect but not receive an effect. Okay, that's an interesting game, right? And then there's rules, right? So here's what you can do and here's what you can't do, right? There's rules. So you're free to do this, but you can't do that. There's a barrier. By the way, your opponents are also barriers, right? Otherwise, it would be like if it was just you with a hockey puck. I guess, as a 5-year-old practicing hockey with no opponent, right? Just learning how to skate or whatever at that point, hold the stick and do something with a puck while standing on ice. All right, so that's fine, but that gets old after a while. Now let's have a game. Let's have some opponents. Let's have somebody trying to stop me. But here's the point: we could see the puck go back and forth, and the rhythm can be off balance in there. Just like with music, anybody ever listen to syncopated music? Syncopated means like off rhythm, or a rhythm that doesn't seem to make sense in your mind. So like strange counts. Most of us here in the Western world listen to, like 4/4 scaled music. I'm not going to get into musical theory. My goodness, somebody's calling me right now. Can you believe that? Somebody's calling me right now. All right, hopefully we're back. So we can get into a situation where we can observe. Oh, that's not a 4/4 rhythm, right? That's not dun 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 dun. That's dun 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 dun. Oh, that's different. Okay, but we can, through our power of observation, watching the pendulum swing, even though we're involved in the game itself, we can relax and be a bit non-attached about it. So when the tide is out, right, we're not down in the dumps. And when the tide's in, we're also not jumping up and down like we just, won the sweepstakes or something. It's to be expected. To be expected. That's right. And we tend to get what we expect. And we expect the tide to go out, but we also expect it to come in. So here's back to my original point. If you've had a tendency to feel like you've somehow been inefficient or less than, or any of the self-deprecating crap, because you haven't already accomplished, that one main thing that that you've got your attention on, because you need to get into the rhythm with it, give yourself a break. Tide's coming in. And you just got hi Ishmael. I hear you, but I don't see you. You got a little bit of background noise. I'm not on the hosting account right now, so if you guys could manage your own microphones and stuff, that would be awesome. But the idea here that you can have a bit of non-attachment to that and have a more pleasing experience. Of course, you'll forego, if you're going to forego the roller coaster, if you're going to get off the roller coaster and not have those big lows, you're not going to have those big highs either. But I'll tell you what, the consistent state of knowing that you're bigger than all of these circumstances, that for me is more blissful than moments of elation. Oh, I'm so surprised that the tide came in. Right? I'd rather be more causative and conscious in my life than surprised at the wins and down in the dumps about the losses, because the rhythm's happening with you or without you. It's time for us to work with the law. So you can go ahead and Mars, the bringer of war. I can't, because now I'm on a phone. I can't see all the chats, but thank you for that. And you can also see, like in like the Bhagavad Gita and the Vedas, Hindu scripture, right? Shiva and Shakti, right? Vishnu. There's and I'm sure some of you have done some study in that area. Eastern thought and all this. But there are polarities, and there are, in that case, deities, right? That symbolize, aspects of law in life. So here's the question for everyone. Can you observe the rhythm in your life? And if you're playing a new song, in other words, starting a new business, getting into a new relationship, taking on some fitness goal, right? Can you also observe that there are rhythms to that you're going to get in that you may not be in now? Sometimes people are delighted when they start something new and they have like instant success. Like what do people call that? Beginner's luck. Beginner's luck. Okay, well, there's a rhythm to that. And then you get to mature, right? So all this stuff works. I think we just need to be conscious of it. And again, if we have been beating ourselves up for having not, experienced the fruition of whatever it is we intend, maybe that'll give yourself a break. Now, that doesn't mean give yourself excuses. That doesn't mean like, well, nothing's happening here. Nothing's been happening for a long time. I mean, it must just be that the tide is out. And it's been 5 years. No, no. Let's take a look at our integrity in that case. Does that make sense, you guys? I hope it is. I'm going to go ahead and stop talking so other people could talk, and I could see if I can get I need to restart Zoom or restart my computer or do something. But thank you all for listening to me. The floor is open. I'm going to ask someone else to talk now because I got to go figure out technology.
All right, let us hear from us. Who's got a thought burning a hole? You know me, right? Got a thought burning a hole in the pocket of your mind? Let's have it.
I've got one.
Ali, how are you?
Well, I can so relate to this because I've just been away for a couple of weeks, and I totally got out of the rhythm, but in a good way. In a good way. I think sometimes you need to have that break. The spaces are as important to the rhythm as the rhythm itself. That's what creates it, isn't it? So yeah, but I feel now coming back into it that I love that analogy, and it feels very much like getting into the flow and getting in back back into the rhythm. So yeah, thank you. It's helpful to think of it like that as well. Get into the music.
That is interesting. And as well, it's like John was saying, thank you, Eileen. It's like John was saying just a minute ago, whether the tide's going to come in, whether we like it or not. And you know what else? The tide's going to go out too, whether we like it or not. So the idea being, if I understand what John was communicating and what you're sharing, Ali, the thing for us to do is to understand that these rhythms are in place and not get so high or so low when we see the flow, when we see the rhythms, because we want to maintain some level of emotional stability as we move through life. You know what? I have a thought about this while I'm on the microphone. If that's all right with you, Reverend?
I am back, I think. Am I back? And I'm still the host, and the YouTube thing's still running. All right, so something worked. So that's
How do you
good.
like
Yes,
that?
please, Glenn. Thank you, sir.
I'm telling you what. You know, I've been thinking about this thing a lot lately, John, about tide going out, tide coming in, and ebbs and flows. Two things. Several thoughts, and two thoughts and several things around them. When the word came to me about the offer that was made to me to host a television show, it was unexpected at the particular moment, but in a way, it also was not entirely shocking to me that an offer like that should come along, because I've been saying, as I think I've shared before, I've been saying for quite some time that I'm a professional networker, I'm a professional connector, and a lot of my life is now becoming more and more about finding new ways to connect with people and to connect people with each other. And here comes a massive opportunity. By the way, I've got the details on where the show and where you can find it, and I'll post those in the Facebook group. And I was reminded of a saying. I was talking to somebody at the TV studio the other day. In fact, I was reminded of a saying by a world famous Indian actress named Aishwarya Rai. Who, has made, I don't even know how many hundreds of movies, and is known around the world in most places outside of North America. And so that she was being asked about her success and, the awards and accolades and everything else. She said, her response was, I always knew that I would be successful, so there really was no element of surprise. And when I first saw that quote and heard it, I thought, a lot of people would interpret that as arrogance. Like cocky. Well, of course. Can't you see how fantastic I am? That really wasn't her thought. Her thought was, this is what I have been visualizing. This is what I've been expecting. This is the goal that I've set for myself. This is what I've been working towards for these many years. I've been playing this movie in my head all my life about what my life's going to look like when I reach this level of success. So then when the level of success arrives, why should I be shocked? Is the whole point of that. And or the other thing, something happened just this morning, as a matter of fact, and I'll finish with this. As some of you all know, a lot of my life these days is beginning to be about Star Trek. As it has been for a long, long time. You know what arrived in the mail today? We're going to Las Vegas for Star Trek convention. You know what arrived in the mail today? My Starfleet uniform. Tried it on, custom made, tried it on. It actually fits.
Come on, man.
Hey, listen, dress up Friday.
Okay.
So, and the thing was, it was, for a moment, I was having a kind of a strange feeling like I talk about Star Trek all the time. I did an interview on Friday on another local TV show here, and talked about the book and about things I've learned from Star Trek and so forth, and get to thinking, Star Trek every place. It's like Star Trek all day, every day. Star Trek these days. But the thing of it is, this is the flow of my life, and this is where all of my experiences and thoughts and viewings and learnings and stuff have brought me to this place in my life. So, you know what? I am going with it, and I'm going for it. Star Trek all day, hell yeah! And see, this is the flow. This is where my life is flowing to right now, and it's fantastic, and it's wonderful, but it's not entirely surprising, because this is, we get what we expect ultimately, whether for good or for bad. We get what we expect. So let's be aware of what it is we're expecting. Thanks. Back to you, John.
Thank you, Glenn. I got a million questions about that. I'll just ask one of them. So as a member of Starfleet, are you a human member, or are you doing other species, or what do you?
Well, something else I need to show you. If y'all just hang on with me.
Yeah, I got to see this. Who's got? All right, let's take bets now.
Go ahead.
Of what species will Glenn be?
Are we taking a poll? Well, so far human.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, something else arrived in the mail. Can you see this?
Oh my goodness. Wow. Like, these people are really into it. Yeah. Wow.
I am now an officer in good standing,
Wow.
inducted into Starfleet.
Signed by Sulu, huh?
Yeah, signed by Captain Hikaru Sulu.
Wow. Well, there you go.
Well,
Hey, I got a question for you, Glenn.
yo.
Did you take an oath?
Well, I don't want to monopolize the time, but there are certain agreements that are taken.
He solemnly swears to never say, "May the force be with you." You can never say that again.
I promise to observe and enforce the prime directive.
All right.
Mostly.
Very good. Thank you, Glenn. All right. Anybody else? Whatever our topic is today. Yes, the law of rhythm. Who's getting into the rhythm here with your stuff, and giving yourself a break that you might be new at something? Anybody? Janet, you know about rhythms.
I do.
Yeah.
We all do, but yes, I mean, I use it in my lettering. I use it in my shamanic practices of knowing how the seasons go, and we have a time. What do we have? There is a season for everything, a time for everything, and they're an ebb and flow. But also I love the syncopation. I do love to listen to jazz as well as classical and other things. But the syncopation are the little sweet, unexpected places, because rhythm can lull us into thinking, okay, well, this is how this is going. It's got up, it's got down, that's fine. But this little bit of pop, da 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 da, something going on, and it's like, oh, that starts to get you alive. That starts to make wonderful accents on everything else. And if you pay attention to that and find joy in that, it's just like an extra bonus. So it's it's a great topic all the way around. Certainly I teach my calligraphy students that rhythm makes for beautiful lettering, and that's, absolutely, yeah, practice makes better. And when you have rhythm, it makes it better. But the syncopation are the sweet places that are somewhat unexpected, and just add that bit of spice, that bit of sweetness, that extra thing. So yeah, rhythms in all ways are so important, and to fight them is to not be with the law, and that's where we get in trouble. And to embrace them is where we start to find our flow. And you're right. When things are in a lull, we shouldn't be down with it. We should just say, okay, this is that part of what's going on, and it will go up again, and I just will be steady and consistent in going toward my goal and not beat myself up if things seem to be not where I want them, because the universe is saying, this is where they are, be good with it, and it will change again. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Janet. So glad you're here. I was just referring to my favorite personal development book of all time while you were talking, and it's the dictionary. And just to brush up on syncopate, apparently there's two definitions for that word. The one that we were just discussing is to displace the beats or accents in music or a rhythm so that strong beats become weak and vice versa. The other definition is to shorten a word by dropping sounds or letters in the middle, as in symbology for symbolology, or Gloucester for Gloucester. From the Latin syncopat, affected with syncope, from the verb syncopare, to swoon, see syncope. So syncope means, in medicine, temporary loss of consciousness caused by a fall in blood pressure. I think my Zoom program had that just a moment ago. And then grammar, the omission of sounds and letters from within a word. For example, when library is pronounced library.
Yeah, John, if
Yeah.
anyone on this call ever says Worcestershire sauce,
Yeah, right.
you cannot be my friend.
That's right. Worcestershire. Yeah. All right. Anybody else today who's getting in the rhythm here? All right. So let's go ahead and wrap up. We've got a couple things on the calendar today. As I mentioned, we've got our e-commerce work group at 3 p.m. Eastern with Emma and Neil. And then we've got our book study group tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. So I will look forward to seeing you all there. And in the meantime, make it a great day, because you know you deserve it.